So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tabitha from Independence Main Street, and she's got a pretty cool presentation. So Tabitha, it's all yours.
Okay, so I had a lot of you asking about the development of our downtown patio that we had done during COVID. And so I just kind of wanted to do a quick presentation on that and show you kind of the steps that we went to get this. And so as you know, in March of 2020, when the world was shutting it down around us, some of you had just left Independence for a quarterly meeting, and everything started to shut down. And so we were looking around in the summer, and none of our downtown restaurants had any outdoor seating. We didn't have any seating really in our downtown at all. And so we were like, what can we do? And during Neowalla in 2007, I believe, this building had burnt down. And so for 13 years, we had been driving by these 3 lots in our downtown, and this is what it looked like. I think it was just so bad, we just quit looking. Because now that I look at it, I'm like, how did we drive by that for 13 years and not want to do something with it? And so it was 3 lots. 2 were owned by Mr. Vermillion, and then 1 was owned by another gentleman. And so we went to Mr. Vermillion first, and he agreed to donate 2 of the lots that were on the east side. And so then we had the west side that had the really ugly wall there. And so we went in and we started talking to the gentleman through a realtor how we can acquire those, and he was not going to donate them at all. And so we finally ended up purchasing that 1 lot and had the other 2 donated. I think we closed on that in August of 2020. And the city would rather Main Street didn't own any property. And so we went to our Community Foundation for Independence, and they'd owned the community orchards in town. So they agreed to put it in their name as long as Main Street would take full responsibility for insurance, the upkeep. All they wanted to do was have their name on the title, and that was it. We pay for the insurance and all that stuff. So that is how we acquired the lots without them actually being property of Independence Main Street. So we started, this was in September, I think. We had to remove the gentleman wanted his shed, and we were happy to give that to him. And he was 99 years old, and he told us that underneath the shed was a small hole. And as you can see, there was a cellar underneath there. And so once they moved that shed, this was the hole that was under there. And it was a Friday at about 4 o'clock when they moved that shed. And we were like, oh my gosh, we got to figure out what to do with this, because somebody could walk by and just fall in this small hole, as he called it. And so anyway, we called the city and we got it barricaded off. And so that just seems like the start of our 100,000 different problems that started taking place. But in the meantime, we were like, what are we going to do with this spot? And so that brought us to the next slide. I had an architect on my board, and we were like, oh, let's do this and let's do that. And so we wanted a stage for a band, as you can see, and we had art up there. And if you want to go to the next one, this is where it really got elaborate. So we wanted a roof, and we wanted all this front work, and we wanted it all be concrete. And we're like, oh, that's beautiful. And so we thought, yeah, let's start with that. And so we sent this out for bid, and it came back to be about $750,000. Well, that obviously wasn't going to happen. And then, a lot of them were like, we don't want it to be all concrete. We needed to soften it up a little bit. And then we decided that the 2 slabs of concrete on the east wall and the west wall were fairly okay. They weren't great, but the middle one was really bad. And so we thought, well, we'll tear out the middle section and plant grass there, and then try to reuse the 2 on the east and the west side to save some money on concrete there. So that they started working on that. Meanwhile, we still had this elaborate plan that we were working on, but we were chiseling away at different things to do to get the cost down. So kind of during, they got it kind of leveled out there, getting it ready for the sod. And that was in March after we had purchased it in August. So this all took a ton of time to make happen. As you can see, so when in our downtown, we have an ordinance basically that says if the property switches hands, the front of your building, the facade has to be brick or stone. And so they wanted us to take off whatever that was on there. So this is our mayor on the lift up there, because he felt really bad about it. So he got out there and was chipping away at it, also trying to help us out there. Well, as you can see in the bottom middle picture, it looked awful. It needed a ton of work done on it. So we were like, okay, moving along, we had to figure out what to do. So we left it like that. And then we had the retaining wall had to come in because that was on a big slope. So this is kind of what it looked like after we got the retaining wall up. And this one on the bottom right was the back part of it. It was a disaster back there also. And so then our architect came back to us and she had done these drawings. This is what the patio basically looks like today without the roof structure. You know, we have the drawings from the structural engineer for our roof structure, but it's coming back. I think we priced it out during the height of metal and everything, and I think it was coming back at like right at $200,000. So we have everything there to do the roof except for the roof. So we intentionally made our poles, the front four are just like decorative to hold the lighting, and then the back four are structural that will hold a roof, because we didn't want to do, that was one thing, we didn't want to just do all the cheaper decorative poles and then have to come back, pull those out and put in more structural ones. So we just went ahead and did that in hopes that someday we would be able to go ahead and get the roof on that. So, and this just showed some work of us, of not us, but the team getting the poles and stuff ready. So then we had everything almost ready to go, and it rained for probably, I'm going to tell you, a month solid. So it was just one big mud hole for probably 6 weeks. And everybody kept going, what are they going to do with that? What are they going to do with that? Like, well, we might be making a splash pad there. I'm not really sure. It'd be a muddy one. But so then the rain finally dried up and they started to lay our sod there in the middle and got the poles down. So that ended up, it looked like dead grass. That's what people kept saying. They planted dead grass there. I'm like, oh my goodness. But you know, everybody has an opinion. So so this is when it started kind of coming to life. We put planters out there. We ordered some furniture that had color. That was the thing. We just wanted it to be fun and colorful, but without being too extreme. And then it started to rain again. And so what we did forget is these planters, we didn't drill holes in the bottom of them. So after about a week of rain again, all those plants were floating. So that was fun. That lesson learned on that. Make sure you drill holes in those things. So then we found a contractor. We tried to do tuck point on there, but it was, I can't remember how much money it was going to be. So we found it was just going to be easier to basically build a whole new wall in front of that. So what they did is just built a new wall in there. And so that is the before and after that they did. And luckily, you know, our city does require that you have brick or stone on the front, but there is a facade grant out there and they pay for 25% of that in a grant up to $25,000. So I think the guy gave us a really good deal on it. So it's about $15,000, and we got $5,000 back from the city for that. So that was nice. And it looks much nicer than it did with the stucco or the brick that was under there. And then we decided we had these ugly walls. The one on the west there, that is where the building had burnt down, and they tried to seal it up with some tar, and it looked awful. We couldn't quite figure out what we were going to do with it. And then the other wall was it's next door to the pawn shop, and it was just this big silver wall. And so we decided that would be a great one to do a mural on the other one. So on the west wall, we decided let's just add some color to it and paint it. There was holes where birds were coming in and out, and the building owner on that side of it, they use it for storage, which you're not supposed to have storage in our downtown, but they kind of grandfathered in. So it is literally, they own a furniture store and they keep all their extra mattresses and all that stuff in there. They just keep it covered because, like I say, there were birds coming in and out of there. So our design gal from the architect office, she said, let's do something that keeps it industrial that way, because some of that plaster was still falling off in chunks. And so she's like, if it falls off, it'll look intentional. So we left a little brick at the top, did some gray there, and she was correct, since there's a couple patches that have fallen off and you can see the brick, and it does just look like it was intentional because it just kind of all blends in together. And then of course we had to figure out the name of it, and this whole, or the archway there, we wanted that so that everybody could see this is the patio. In the meantime, we'd applied for the Reimagined Spaces grant through the Department of Commerce. And we got word that we had received that. So we are interviewing muralists for the other huge wall on the other side, which, mind you, I think is 125 feet long and 35 feet tall at its tallest. So, you know, what were we going to put on there? Who could do it? And we had $10,000 basically to do this. And so that was becoming a challenge for us also. So it took probably about 9 months to figure out the other side of it. So meantime, we have, we redid everything for Christmas. So this is the Christmas that we did with it. We just cut down cedar trees or branches, stuffed those in there and made it look really pretty. The bottom one with that wreath on there, I am telling you, I think everybody in Independence had their family picture taken in front of that. So finally in April of 2022, we decided on a muralist, Chance, I remember his last name, and he was from the Kansas City area. And so the city attorney actually has a bunkhouse out behind his house, and him and his wife are into the arts. They love art. So they actually invited Chance and his team to stay in their bunkhouse while they're here. So he lived here for about a month while he was working on our mural. So you can see he had to do all the prep on the wall first, which took quite a bit of time. And then these next ones are just kind of the development of this huge mural that we were doing. We couldn't decide. We wanted to be relaxing. When you were sitting there, you wanted to seem like you were in your backyard, you know, on your patio. We didn't want it to be something that would quickly, you know, go out of style or whatever. So we knew that it was going to be there for probably 10 or more years. So this is what we decided on, was kind of a trees background with some greenery, and being so large, there had to be, you know, had to have a lot of skyline. So the blue with the clouds and the big tree, and it just seemed to kind of fit in the space with what we were wanting and the size that we had to fit in there. So this is just some of the smaller parts of it that you really can't see. And there's our muralist down there working. It got extremely hot because that is all concrete and there's no shade there. So he had to makeshift a little bit of a shade spot for him. So this was the finished product in May of 2022. You can see it just kind of goes with, because we love the flower. Everybody loves the flowers. And then you have the green in the mural and the butterfly and the little animals. And that paper there that dog is reading under that tree, it's Independence News is what Mr. Vermillion had. He published a newspaper for 40 some years, I think, maybe 50 some years. It was called the Independence News. And his tagline, he was a state senator for a long time. And his tagline was, "Thanks a million for voting for Mr. Vermillion." And so on that paper that the little dog is reading, it has Independence News and it says, "Thanks a million, Mr. Vermillion, for donating those lots." So kind of giving a little plug to him there. So, and this was, here's the ones where I was trying to show you just some of the fun. They do yoga there. They have fun with the little sign, the family pictures, just lots of use out of the mural itself. So this is just some of the things that the patio is used for. I can go by lunch out there all the time, baby showers, birthday parties, almost every weekend. People just take their chalk and sit there and play on that. There's live music there. We try to do live music there a couple times a year. We also have a place downtown we do live music on, so we don't want to take away from that. This is just another example of it does have food truck parking there. That is, they have a 220 outlet so that the food truck can just pull in and plug in. And someone had donated this fire pit. It wasn't really a great idea because I don't really want people starting a fire there, but it was super nice and it matched the same guy that did the arch there did this. So it was a nice thought. I try not to keep, if I see wood there, I'd remove it pretty quickly. So we recently purchased this giant screen to play movies on in the evening. Somebody can rent it, or my friends and I just go down and have a movie night. So that has really been a big hit. So, okay, so this is kind of where we are. We have about $193,000 into the project. The lots kind of broke down of the most. Electric was a high one. The poles, let's see, tables and chairs are almost 10,000. The front. So I just wanted to kind of see, it wasn't really one thing that cost. It was just a ton of little things adding, even the umbrellas, 5,000. I was like, how expensive can umbrellas be? Because once we knew we couldn't afford the roof, we went for the umbrellas to try to provide some shade. So yeah, so here is how we funded this project. We had a Spark grant that started us out was $22,500. By the end, I think the grants came in at 52,000, about 50, almost 52.5. We had a Walmart grant, the Reimagine Spaces, Enbridge, the Realtor grant. If you guys haven't looked at that one, that's a really easy one to get, and that was $5,000. We got one from Evergy, Walmart, just a few different ones in there. But the biggest, I mean, it was completely almost community and business funded. On Giving Tuesday, we've done 2 different ones over the 2 years, and we'll do one this year, which really surprised me. We just put it out there. One of them we called Help Raise the Roof, I think. And over the 2 years we've done it on Giving Tuesday, we've raised $22,402. So that's just one day of putting it out on Facebook and saying, hey, drop a check off. This is what we're doing. And so that happens in November, I think. And it's a good time. It's a good write-off, and people are always looking at the end of the year for that. So that's been a great one for us. So this is our logo that we use for the patio. It was kind of funny when we went to the historical preservation to ask about painting that wall that was already had the tar running down it and stuff. Of course, they wanted us to try to remove the tar first. And we were like, okay, it didn't happen very well. But the funniest thing was we were like, well, we're going to paint it. And they're like, oh, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's not like you're going to paint it lime green. And then we were like, oh, well, we kind of are. And he was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, well, it's not really crazy. And I mean, it just kind of blends with the chairs and stuff. So this is our logo, and that's how we kind of came up with that green on the wall, the industrial looking wall there. So that is about all I have for that. So just wanted to give you a little heads up or show you how we funded that and how it all came together, the before and afters there. So